You hear people talk about Marquise Brown, and what they often will say is he takes the top off of a defense. I don't want us to operate under this misapprehension that that's all he is. That's pretty far from the truth. He's a threat. He is high level with the ball in his hands, in space. Just tremendous, tremendous. And it is like Antonio Brown. That's who he reminds me of in space. Very dangerous on all three levels. Good route runner. Tracks the ball extremely well. He's just really, really, I think, a high-level receiver. This video is going to focus primarily on what some people would call gadgets. You know, how Oklahoma used him in that regard in their offense, and we might project that forward into the Ravens' offense. I don't use that word gadget in a pejorative sense. To me, he has so much going on outside of that, and in addition to that, it just wouldn't make sense not to do some of these plays. You want the ball in his hands, however you can get it in his hands. Marquise is set up on the boundary side in what was a two-receiver set on that side. You can see it. The film picks it up a little bit late, but you can see this receiver had come in motion. He was inside of Marquise, and you can tell because the DB charged with covering him has followed him over to that side. That's intentional. It's 3rd and 11, so you can see that they're targeting Marquise here specifically. They're trying to get the ball to him in space. This receiver is going to run a mesh with him. And interesting here, you see 84 kind of reach his hand out. And this is something that they're coached to do, or you're coached to do. Not necessarily live, but in practice. You want to get so close to each other that if there were a DB or a linebacker here, they just can't come in between you and cut underneath. So that's what he's doing there. You see this boundary corner. He reads that right away, and he just abandons that side of the field and comes charging downfield at Marquise. The receiver that was in motion and the tight end here, they just take off, and they're clearing space underneath. The inside receiver is going to run a go, the tight end. This is going to be a dig. Notice how the number 2 cuts right behind and underneath of that go. Interestingly enough, this guy's so convinced about wanting to cover Marquise. This whole part of the field is wide open. So either of these receivers would have been a good choice, but he gives it to Marquise. And you can see Marquise kind of even pull up here. And again, he's just a really gifted runner. Duck underneath that tackle and pick up a first down and then some. It just how much he has to be accounted for and how gifted he is in the open field is really exciting. So you make an easy throw for your quarterback there, easy read. Everything just worked out perfectly, and he does the rest. Another mesh route here, you can see him at the bottom of your screen. And what I love about this is you have to decide how you're going to play these, and you have to read them. It puts a lot of pressure on a defense. Michigan here, or West Virginia, I'm sorry, brings 7. And they determine that the way they're going to cover this is just wherever he goes, wherever Marquise goes, that corner is going to follow him. You can see he follows him into an illegal block here. This is no good, but it doesn't look like he's got Marquise has got 2 or 3 steps on him there, especially when he cuts it back behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah, that should have been a penalty. But yeah, there he is in space, and that'll scare you if you're a defense. So just simple reads for the quarterback. Design looks to Marquise. Yeah, just put a strain on a defense. So we mentioned that defenses will have to have a plan and how they handle these mesh routes underneath. Here we see him out of the slot, so he's not part of this mesh. And Iowa State's plan is to come up and just jam within the 5 yards. Which is I think it's a good strategy if you can get hands on a guy. But he's part of the dagger concept here. He's going to run an in route. These two run the mesh. We saw Oklahoma do this earlier as well. Cuts behind the tight end who's running a go. And here he just sits it down. So that's really smart, right? He's not going to run into coverage. He just sits it down, and quarterback hits him there. So that mesh stuff, if you come up and play, it opens up the middle of the field more often than not, especially with a really good running or a good route runner. Just aware of where the coverage is, sits it down instead of cutting it all the way across. Now watch what happens here. They sort of triangulate him. They got him. Nope. Again, a gifted open field runner. They're going to run him on a drag route behind the defensive line here. This is him in the slot. Note the release of the running back, the immediate release. And I have to admit, when I saw that, I thought of Justice Hill, just getting downfield. Oh, gosh. Well, he's such a good open field runner. I forgot he scored on that. Yeah, when I first saw this running back release, I thought about Justice Hill. See how he makes the linebacker come over and get him. It's the right call against the right coverage. The receiver goes out as well. You want to see the receiver does a good job of just running that coverage off. Probably you're going to ask the running back, whoever it is, not to get into his block that soon. In college you can do that if the ball's out, so that's kind of close. But in any case, make an easy throw for your quarterback. Make Marquise's guy chase from an off coverage, and that's really difficult. And then this is just great open field running here. Just following his blocks, gets outside the sideline, cuts it back in, breaks a tackle. I think he threatens all three levels of the field. I'm sure of it. And what I mean by that is people are scared of him. He's a good route runner. You can see he's part of this smash concept here, and he just runs that little outside hitch. But you can see the respect that this corner has for him. Watch what happens here. The inside receiver runs this deep corner and kind of shields just a little bit by doing so Marquise from that coverage. And this guy's so far off. Watch what he does. The ball's probably already out of the quarterback's hands, but he's so intent on the fact that Marquise has set up this little hitch. He completely abandons this responsibility. Now, I don't think he knows the ball is out. He just sees his guy underneath and blows this off. The way that you can tell is watch what happens. He takes it now. He realizes he's taking a false step. So if he knew the ball was out there, he would have just kept coming for that hitch. The other thing that's kind of interesting to me is they boot the quarterback out of the shotgun. So just a nice little smash concept there, and just an effort to get the ball in his hands. I like that they boot him there because there's just a little bit less distance to throw the football. So you're trying to set up a throw that's a little simpler, and the concept itself is really nice. They would run him across the formation in motion a lot. They would even kind of run him to the quarterback and back just to kind of get a read on the defense. Here, he goes into this orbit motion behind the running back and the quarterback. You can see nobody goes with him. Nobody runs with him. And the quarterback notices that right away. He's reading this linebacker, it looks like. And that's a quick determination and by the quarterback. Once he sees that nobody goes, that ball's coming out quickly. Notice what the defense does in response to this motion. You can see the play's already picked up where he's gone into motion. This is Marquise here. Watch the free safety comes, tearing downhill, and that's his guy. What that does is they have a cover 3 look here that they want to get back into, so they send the strong safety. That's it. He's coming in to sort of fill in that 3 look, but you can see he's a little bit late getting over. And if you notice this on film, that sort of motion triggers a safety to come downhill, that opens up the middle of the field. That opens up somebody to release there. Or this, I believe this probably was the look if he doesn't get pressured, this post. Clearly, they like him on these screens, and this sort of look invites one. This sort of pressure at the line, which actually comes to fruition. Um, that little sidearm baseball throw. But they release both offensive linemen and then ultimately the center as well. So everybody on that right side of that line gets out in front of him. Watch how good he is in the open field here. Watch how he cuts this back, stops on a dime right there. Cuts really close to the center. And leans. See how he leans into that to get just behind the center? All that happens, and picks up the first down. All that happens really natural. He's great vision in the open field. And it does remind you of Antonio Brown. If they got a certain look at the line of scrimmage, here you can see that they're expecting pressure. It's an empty set. And then you get the idea here is that you get off coverage and even numbers on the perimeter. They're going to get the ball to him a lot on these screens. I think this end is going to be accounted for a little bit more than they do in their offense, or will need to be at the next level. You're going to have to get something on him, some kind of check on him before you leak out. But again, you see just good vision. Watch him cut behind this blocker. Great block by 56, the center here too. And then he's going to split the last two defenders. So this is just a small sort of sample of what this guy is capable of. But hopefully it gives us an inkling, of how he might, or a part of how he might be used this year with the Ravens. If you allow your mind to kind of project, even with those simple mesh routes underneath, if you run him opposite of Willie Snead or of Justice Hill, that is a threat underneath that the linebackers, second level, somebody's going to have to account for, and the potential to open up the middle of the field just with that. Never mind that one of them might be an easy read, it might be open, it might be able to go after catching the football. What it does to a defense, having to account for that. But I noticed that with him throughout. It isn't just those mesh routes. He has to be accounted for, and I'm really excited about him.